And so what do you say about this? Maybe this is true, maybe other African countries. So I don't know, in some extent, even it push you to hate history, but some other, when you come to the Adwa, and we have actually many, many history, which are actually figurative history, and because of that we get happy, but we have this kind of extremisms. So what do you say about this?
Okay.
Especially from the forces.
All right. Thank you very much. The beauty of the way you have asked the question is you have acknowledged that there are problems, and this how also the what this problem cause. But you see, let's say we are doing a project to gather stories about people. We can train the people we're working with and make them see, okay, this is our goal in this project. You can identify area of tension and find a way to explain them in such a way that they don't constitute trouble. Let me give you an example. I think it was about 25 years ago. I was a first year student at undergraduate level. So I was trying to write how the gospel came to my hometown. How the gospel came to my hometown. We have a church where I attend, and we have other churches. So I came across something that my church was the first church. So, but being the first church, it has strict rules. So, and because of that, certain people could not be accepted. For example, those who have two wives were told to separate from one of their wives, while there are also others who are interested in having two or more wives. So that then my church rejected them. So then another church was created, which is actually a bigger denomination that is global, was created to accommodate these people who married second wives. So you see, if I were to present that history that way, it will look like, oh, my church is the righteous church. It's the sinners who were not contented with one wife that moved to this other church. Then the third church, there are three popular churches in my hometown. My church, the other church, and then the third church. Now, the third church also was brought because this first church was not allowing people to drink alcohol. The second church allowed people to take more than one wife, but without alcohol. So now some people, both those who have one wife, those who have more than one wife, who were now interested in taking alcohol, now started the third church. So honestly, this is what I gathered. That is what was written and documented. When I was doing my findings, when I came to archival things, I was gathering and putting things together, and I came across that. Then it sounded funny to me. If I write this and present it will be like I'm making a propaganda where I'm looking down on other churches and elevating my own church. So basically, when we want to write history, first, never ignore. When we get those things, let's gather them, let's collect them. But then we can begin to identify area of tension and then work around the area of tension to present a history that would be helpful. Then I also want to point that when you say history, history is part of what is happening today. It's not just about yesterday. It's what is in the past and is happening today. So even let's say um, you are writing the history of Ethiopia. current history of Ethiopia. And Ethiopia built a very big dam that is becoming very contentious about the water of Nile. Now I'm talking to an engineer. So now this is something. Will you avoid writing about it because you want to depend on something in the past? No, because the person who will read it in the future, why isn't the issue of let's say political conflicts and tensions that affect international relations in Ethiopia? Maybe that's your topic. So now you wouldn't avoid that because yes, it's happening in the present, but it's part of it. So we need the oral tradition, which never gets old, by the way. We need oral tradition, both in the of about the present and eyewitnesses account, then about the past. Then when it comes to the tension, we can carefully, it's a good thing we have discovered that this can constitute tension. Then we can avoid it. Even in your family, there are stories you don't want to tell your children. Because if you tell your children may not like your father again. Or if you tell your children, one uncle somewhere, when your children grow up, he will not be welcome in the home. Because you know, no, this is contentious. So you leave it that way. So I think we shouldn't ignore it. It's good to have it saved somewhere, but then we find a way of explaining it in a manner that will promote peace and harmony. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes.
Okay. If there's any other question, we will do more discussion afterwards. I just want us to take 5 minutes now. Please walk. 5 minutes. Please walk. Leave your seat. Even if you are connecting your house alone, leave your seats, okay? And
Okay.
walk. So 5 minutes. See you then.
5 minutes work out me. I do 6 minutes work out until the end.
በገደልኩት እሺ በቃ አግኝቻለሁ እንዳልኩ ስሚ አንቺ እራስሽ በቃ
አሁን ደወለ
እንዴ ቀይው
ገና ነገ ነው እኮ
አዛልኝ
ልጄ ሚውት አድርገው። ልጄ
ያልተጨበጠ
ሚውት አድርገው።
እሱ ድለላውን ነው የሚፈልገው
ደጀኔ ሚውት
አሁን
አድርገው።
እሱ መስፍን በደለለው እሱ ሊገባ ነው
ደጀኔ
እና
ደጀኔ ሚውት አድርገው።
ምን ሳይ ነው? ደውልለት።
እሺ ይበጠብጣል።
ኦኬ።
ቆይ
ሄሎ
ደውለት፣
ክንፈ
ቆይ
ሄሎ
ደውለታል።
እንዴት ነህ ክንፈ ሰላም ነህ ሁሉ ሰላም ነው እግዚአብሔር ይመስገን
ክንፌ ደወለለት።
እሺ እሺ በጠበጠን እኮ
Okay, are we back?
yes we back.
All right. Okay, can we start now?
Yes, we can start.
Yes, yes, we can start.
All right. Okay, we were talking about church history, African church history, and I'm so glad that in the course of our interactions, we have pointed out things, challenges that we might encounter. It just makes me feel like, okay, there is a microphone that is on. Could you please turn it off? All right. Thank you for okay. I've muted those microphones. Okay. Thank you. Now, all the questions you're asking are very interesting to me, and they are very good because it kind of makes me have a hope that some people in this class will take it upon themselves and fill in some of those missing gaps, those missing links, especially as it relates to the history of Christianity in Africa. It's a very critical thing, and also recognizing the sources. And we have people who are getting old and are passing away. There are people who are getting old and are passing away. There were things I gathered at some point. And most of the people I interviewed that time, they are all gone. That's like how many years ago? Maybe 12, 13 years ago? No, 14 years ago. Most of the people I interviewed, they are all gone. There are just few that are remaining. And so the time is now to gather as much as we can. And we have a lot of devices we can use to record. We have transcribing devices to use to transcribe. We have all these things that we can use. So the earlier, the better. we utilize this thing and use them to okay. The earlier we utilize these, the better it will be for us. So because history is very, very important. Now, coming back to where we stopped, one of the challenges also in the history of Christianity in Africa is it can be so overwhelming. It can be so overwhelming, and the person may want to solve all the problems at once. There is nothing bad if one person takes, okay, the history of Christianity in this particular region. And how it happened when I taught history of world Christianity, which is another aspect of history, one kind of history of its own. Because history in the context of world Christianity is the history of Christianity within a people group, how they ingrained it, how they interacted with it, how they adapted to it, things they added, the values they added and values they took away within a given expression. So in the context of world Christianity, well, in the context of world Christianity, even in Ethiopia, you find out that there are different Christian expressions within Ethiopia that are not the same in any way. There are variant. And in that, you just begin to see those things happening. And then the history of world Christianity goes to check those individual people group. So it can also be an approach towards studying the history of Christianity. Then we can have resources that can be used even for better production. So take note of this. The place of African church history in all this. One, note that the study of African church history has shared in the revolution in African history in general. So African church history is somewhat unevenly spread between, okay, let me take this one. As shared in the revolution of African history in general. Earlier we pointed out that it was the people the missionary trained that became many countries that were colonized. It was the people the missionary trained that stood to fight for independence. Some of them were taught law, some of them were taught public relations, some of them were taught different things. Of course, mainly there is theology, but then all of these things put together were the things that shared in the revolution of African history in general. Then secondly, in fact, the art of writing history for Christianity was the motivation for writing history from other perspectives. So African church history is somewhat unevenly spread between also the ancient period, that is up to 500 AD. Up to 500 AD, that is. And that time, of course, we know the expansion was highly limited. But in the first 500 years of Christianity spread into Africa in places like Egypt, Nubia, of course, Ethiopia, and some northern part of North Africa, which unfortunately today all are Islamic communities. So that period is there. Then we have the time they call the middle period. The middle period now begins between 1500 to 1700. Now take note that there is about 1,000 years of silence. Because if the ancient period is up to 500, Then the middle period begins from 1500. What happened to the 1,000 years? There are so many things that happened. The church was divided, a lot of contentions within the church, and Islam came. In fact, Ethiopia was highly affected by the severance. Ethiopia was highly affected by the severance, how Islam separated, because the fashion of Christianity, the structure of Christianity at that time in Ethiopia, which we'll come to see, has to do with it was somewhat dependent on Alexandria, so much so that you can't, the Ethiopian church could not ordain anyone except the person is ordained all the way from Alexandria in Egypt. So they come, they ordain, or else no ordination take place, no leadership authority. And now with the advent of Islam, we'll talk more about that. In the advent of Islam, there was no way to travel again to Egypt, no way for anybody to come from Egypt. And Egypt also was somewhat conquered. So that affected the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Some of the things we see today are part of that. So then we come to the 1500 to 1700, which is the middle period. This was basically the activities of the Portuguese. The activities of the Portuguese. That was the activities of the Portuguese. And the Portuguese, on the other hand, we will come to see, did they really come for missions or they came for exploration? Well, they came for explorations and it became missions, which is not a bad idea. As you move to places, your eyes open. We have missionaries who actually came for tourism, but then they saw a need and they went home, they prepared, they came back and they became missionaries. So of course, that is a similar case. But some of the activities of the Portuguese also raised a lot of questions, which is what we believe led even to the coming back to farm robber in DRC that led to the death of millions. So so then we come to the colonial and the post-colonial period. That is from about 1750 rather. Everything that has been said about the general African history applies to the church history in the ancient period, in which there are still very many gaps in our knowledge. A good example is Nubia, where archaeology has helped to fill out a very sparse story. Since 1948, the rise of modern African historical research has by no means neglected Christian history. Books by West, Central, and East African scholars on African church history are of great importance. One might add that special research projects on African history by students from university like St. Paul, Limuru, and AIU have made a real contribution to the study of African church history. You see, St. Paul University and AIU, African International University. Then it's possible that from this class, we're going to have a HAMS name on the map. Can I hear an amen for that? Yeah, it's possible. It's possible for us to have that. So we can come up with a project. Individuals can write about their hometown or certain places or certain events. And these, of course, would help people not to be ignorant of what has transpired in the past and what is going on in the present. So we are all making history, but let's write history as we make it so that when people see it, they can connect the dots. They can connect the dots. So that's very, very important. So, what's happening here? Now, amidst all these, it is time to ask a significant heart-searching question. It's time to ask a significant and heart-searching question, which is this. What does all this demand from me? Yes, you. You. Yes, you, each of you. It doesn't matter if you connected by yourself alone with your device or you are in a group of class together. But the question is, what does all this demand from me? Yes, you. What does it demand from you? It demands a great deal, a very great deal. The heart of historical objectivity, that is impartiality, demands much more from African students in this subject than in general church history. For example, even those crises, those tension area that we have pointed, that Engineer Kifi was talking the other time, he talked about the tensions. Even those tensions, it demands objectivity. Objectivity. Objectivity in what sense? Objectivity is we are not emotionally invested into what is happening. It can be difficult sometimes, especially if you come from the same region where you are doing your research. It can be difficult. I have experienced something similar. It can be very difficult. So now, objectivity, impartiality, demands much more from African students in this subject than in general churches. Events like slave trade, colonialism, settler treatment of Africans, the question of relation of colonialism with mission will be presented to you without any attempt to avoid or duck sensitive issues. When we talk about slave trade, for example, we talk about the things the slave traders did. We talk about the things even our own traditional leaders did. We talk about all these things. We talk about the role, even the one that some missionaries played. So, without ducking. So we have to study what actually happened, not what we prefer to have happened. Yes, so Engineer Kife, we have to study all of those things. Why did they happen? How did they happen? Where did they happen? To whom did they happen? And who caused those things to happen? We must ask serious questions and not avoid or duck sensitive issues. We have to study what actually happened, not what we prefer to have happened. And so we have to see that there are two sides to most things, even slavery. Let me give an example. One day we're talking, someone was saying, no, these whites are very wicked. Why would they take our black people as slaves? Oh no, they are these. Then someone cut in and said, excuse me, did you know that they bought the slaves? They never went into they didn't go into the African streets to pick people and go with them. No, they bought these people. Now the question is, they bought them from who? Aha. They bought them from fellow African leaders. Sometimes our African leaders, because they want something, they sell a human being for that thing. They sell a human being for mirror because they could see their face from mirror. They sell some human beings for gunpowder. They sold them for those things. Then also, so even slavery, because it is the same, our people, the blacks, are the ones who go into villages to capture people and come and sell them to the Europeans. So who is at fault? So there are two sides to most things. We will meet disillusionment at times, but if so, we'll also be honest about our subject. We'll meet disillusionment, we'll meet a lot of things. But if so, we'll also be honest about our subject. So I give this time for question and answers. Yes. So we'll give time for question and answers. Q. Who is okay. No question. Let me. Okay, someone is asking a question.
No, thank you, doctor.
Okay, now, but let me. I want to leave you with something to do. Please pay attention. Now, I want you to, wherever you come from, and that place where you come from, your hometown, do you know how, when, and through whom the gospel came to that place? Do you know when, how, and through whom the gospel came to your hometown? When, how, and through whom the gospel came to your hometown? When has to do with the dates. How has to do with the process and stages. When has to do with dates. How has to do with the process and stages. Then through whom? Who are the agents? External agents? Did the external agent come and convert a few and raise those few to go reach out to others? Try to do something about that. And just send them to me in my email. You carry the name. I expect this by next week. You can put a call through, use WhatsApp, ask questions from people. Are there archives? So you mentioned the name of your hometown, and you talk about how the gospel came to your hometown, when it came, and who are the people involved, who are the agents involved, both in preaching and in the expansion. Both in preaching and in the expansion. If I were to tell you about my hometown, I'll tell you, yes, some white people, some Westerners came to my hometown to preach the gospel. One of them was particularly good with children, from what I gathered. Then, while they did that, they ministered to someone, they raised some people, and those people became wonderful instruments in preaching the gospel to the locals. In preaching the gospel to the locals, from place to place. The power of translation. The power of translation. When the Bible was translated, they took it. So I saw a hand up from HAMS campus. Who is that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Doctor. We have been listening to the questions that were delivered to us. What we wanted to ask you is the number of pages to submit
Okay, that I said you should submit for next week.
the number of pages limitation.
Oh.
Maybe two.
I think it's
two
half
or-
a page.
Really? Can you Dijen, Ayele,
Yes,
what is
yes.
the name of your village?
Would you like
I'm born
Okay.
and raised in the capital city, Addis Ababa.
Okay. So
So
just make it 1 or
the
2 pages is fine. 1 or 2 pages is fine. It's just make it 1. If you are a detailed person, it can reach 2, but just make it 1 page. It's fine. Remember, you carry the name of your hometown, the dates the gospel came, the process, what are the stages, and also through whom, who are the agents, and external and internal agents. You put all of those together. Am I being hard on you?
Yes, already we have understood the question what was said.
Okay. I just want you to give it a try. It can be something you will work on in the future, okay? It can be something you work on in the future. And I tell you, they need those things. Now, as my children are growing, I'm beginning to wonder. I started a project I left halfway. But even because of my children, I will do that. Not necessarily because of others to publish a book, but for my children, I will do that. So, okay.
Doctor,
Yes, sir.
yeah, my question is, I think it's very difficult to answer, the date and the agent, because, for example, in our city, there are like more than 10 denominations, big denominations, and historically, those who receive those established by the missionaries. For example, the Full Gospel Church, the Ethiopian Mechanized Church, the Kaleos Church, and these denominations are, used by missionaries, established by missionaries. So I think we can write the missionaries who help to establish those denominations, maybe. And these denominations preach, the gospel to the urban area and the rural area.
Okay, thank you very much. You have started answering the questions, by the way. You started answering the question. Why? Because if you go to the church archives, churches should have archives.
Yeah.
Churches should have archives. And Kalehiwo Church is a sister church to my church in Nigeria.
Wow.
It was started by the SIM.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the SIM started in Nigeria. Thomas Kent, Walter Gowan, and Roland Bingham. So when you put all of these things together, so it can be a church. All you have to do is put a call through. They may have some documents. Like if you go to SIM office, they may even have some documents published where all these things have been are documented. And we can also ask some leaders questions. I'm just trying to kickstart a process. Who knows? From this large class, maybe 5 books can come out. Someone may just be scared and voila, something comes out. Someone may just be scared and then something good will come out. Who knows? Maybe 5 books, maybe 10 books. I am believing in you, okay? I am believing in you. Don't disappoint me and don't disappoint God. Maybe some work will come out. Who knows? It's very possible. So, sorry, I'm not going to grade it, okay? I just want you to do something. Ask questions. Begin to learn to ask questions. When did the gospel come to this part? You can start by asking, which is the first church? And you go to the first church. How did it come here? Then you go to the second church. You call somebody through. When did the gospel come here? Then how? Who are the process? Are they white missionaries? Are they Ethiopians like you? Who are the people? Then what did they do? Then the name of the place. So it's just ask questions. Just ask questions that will lead to answers. Someone said people don't grow and society don't develop simply because we don't ask questions. So the goal of this assignment is just for you to ask questions. Please be intentional.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. Recently, I wrote a paper. I did a research. I distributed questionnaires. People filled the questionnaires for that research. But I was not satisfied with their responses. I went through, I was not satisfied. Do you know, I just sent a woman a text. I said, could you please give me the phone number of someone from your country? And when she gave me the number, it happens it's someone that I know. And I asked him questions. It was on phone. I used airtime to call him. The information I got from this man was so amazing that it changed the direction of the research on phone. And you can record it. I see you people have good gadgets. You can record it and later listen to it and pick information from there. So it's possible. Don't be afraid. Just the goal of this is just to help us ask questions. Ask questions. Some of you seated here, the person with the answer may even be your parents. It may even be your parents. So, or your relatives. So I pray this helps us to ask questions and it will help us. Yes, any question?
Okay, thank you, instructor. Let me ask a question related with the introduction of Christianity in Africa.
Okay.
Except the Horn and North Africa, other parts of African Christianity is historically most of the time is related with colonialism, and some African activists and the politicians blame Christianity with colonialism, especially European Christianity. So, isn't there any church in Africa before the introduction of Portuguese and Spanish?
There are churches in Africa, before the visit, the exploration of the Portuguese. And you happen to come from a country where there is a church before the Portuguese came. You come from a country like that, Ethiopia. We have Egypt, Algeria, Mauritania, all these regions where Augustine of Hippo, Bishop Augustine of Hippo. Have you heard about him in church history?
Yes. Yes.
Bishop Augustine. Where did Bishop Augustine come from? He comes from Algeria.
Yes.
Hippo is from Algeria. So
Augustine. Yes.
So Christianity was in Africa long ago. But I pointed out sometime I said, one of the problems of Christianity in Africa is that the Africans of that time did not make effort enough to spread it. That's the truth. There seemed to be some complacency at some point. Then secondly, there was this division, this Sikhism of argument over you are wrong, we are right, that divided the church. And that is what made it easy when Islam came. Islam conquered with sword and forced something. So when Islam came, Islam, of course, pushed, and other faiths were suppressed, and Christianity as well. Because they are brutal, they could kill if you refuse Kimfe, I've seen your, don't worry, there is note. And I'll also share with you some books. So I'll share with you. Yeah. So, but we must also, you see, when it comes to when you are doing history, we said we need to be objective and we need to come to terms with some realities, even though some of these realities are very hard to swallow. And this is it. Yes, there are people who came at the time of the colonialists. One, they needed protection. They needed even permission from the colonialists. So they came. And there are things they couldn't do without the permission of the colonialists. It's just like you have your government today. If I want to come to Ethiopia, I need to get a visa. If I want to come to your country today, I need a visa. At the time of the colonialists, they were the ones who would issue such permissions as visa. So when you look at all of these things, some of them came totally unconnected to the colonialists. But today people still say it's a colonial agenda to spread Christianity. That's just a propaganda. There are some of them who made mistakes. They are not perfect. But the mistakes didn't necessarily make them colonialists. Let's talk about like certain things we do that they think is wrong. Let me give you an example. Last year I was in Moyale, and I tell you, I wanted to tell the children, no, stop playing in the mud. No, get out, get out. But I just noticed that there are many people who are, of course, the Borana people. They didn't stop the children. So I said, okay, could there be a cultural thing? Could there be a cultural thing attached to that? Why are they not sending the children? Then later, one pastor explained to us that in the culture, when there is rain, rain is seen as a blessing. So playing in the mud is fine because it's like celebrating the blessing. You see, that's culture. In my culture, it's totally different. So if I was not restrained inside me, I probably would have sent the children away. And you could accuse me and say, this person came and is imposing his culture on us. So the missionaries are humans. Of course, they have made mistakes. And we must learn to see that, okay, they're not perfect. They made mistakes. Just like the one I just shared with you now. They could have made mistakes to stop certain things and all of that, but it doesn't mean that they were colonialists. I hope I've answered your question. In Sodo branch, someone raised his hand. Who might that be? Someone in Sodo branch raised his
Sodo
hand.
branch.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay, it's very interesting topic about African Christian history, and we got a lot of knowledge from this explanation, and we thank you a lot, Doctor. And then I have a question.
Okay.
My question is, some colleges, that means one student is asked that means it's too difficult to know the time and the date to explain how, when, and through whom. But it's too difficult to know about the time, perfect times, but how, when, and through whom is we can find it. And my question is, there are peoples.
This meeting is being recorded.
There are peoples who know about the gospel, how it's come to us, and they are taught in orally. So this oral things or oral information is how we can use this oral information as a document for this for answer this question. That's my question.
Yes, I did say that we are going to respect every source. So oral source is also very important. I said we're going to respect every source. We're not going to take any source for granted. In fact, we consider oral sources as primary sources. So get information, get record. It's possible that in the future you may find more authentic information, but at this time you are reporting according to the source I consulted. Source A, source B, source C. I contacted some elderly people, and this is what they told me. You are keeping a record. Yes, and even this thing we're talking about, it's very possible that there are people in your class who have the information.
Yeah.
So I hope when I ask you to mention your ancestors to the 5th generation, you will not miss, even if it's to 10.
But
So
that's thank you, sir.
So it's been a great time being with you all, and I really did have a good time. It's such a large class, but I enjoyed being with you, and I want it to be this interactive. I want it to be this interactive, and I pray we would continue to learn together. So thank you very much. Amesegenela.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Have a blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you. Second, Alan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor. God bless you.
Man, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Be blessed.
Thank you. I will try to send the material, please. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you. ይቅርታ ወገኖች፣ አዲስ አበባ ልጆች አለው።
እሺ ወይ እንቆይ ትንሽ
አዎ ትንሽ ማለት ኦልድ ቴስታመንት የሰጠችው እንትን አለ ማቴሪያል አለ ልካለው ብላ ነበር። እኔ አልደረሰኝም እስካሁን።
ልካለች እኮ ግሩፕ ላይ
ላገኝ አልቻልኩም። የሚገርም ግሩፑን ከፍቼ ነበር።
እሺ ልከል እሺ ሼር አረካለች።
እሺ ሼር አድርገኝ እስቲ።
ወይ መልሼ ልላከው። ዘግይታ ነበር የገባው መሰለኝ።
መቼ
ጆይን
ነው
ያደረከው?
የላከችው?
ዘግይታ ነው መሰለኝ።
መቼ ነው የላከችው?
የዛኑ ቀን ልክ እዛው ክላሱ እያስተማረች ነገር ነው ያደረገችው።
ኧረ እስቲ እባክህ ላክልኝ መልሰህ ወደ እኔ።
እሺ
እሺ ጌታዬ እባክህ ክንትዬ። እሺ እሺ
ተባረኩ። እሺ ሰላም ደሩ።
እሺ ተባረኩ። ደህና ደሩ።